Well, I have to say, you really have tweaked my curiosity, and I have yet to see one of those 15-page reports, as probably have most of our listeners. So I would love it if you would just paint a picture for us of what is it they'll be holding in their hands when they get this report.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Kim, because it is kind of difficult to imagine. What's he talking about? Well, this 15-page report, as I said, it's like nothing that you've seen before, because we spent as much time on the design and delivery of it, in other words, making it accessible to these couples, as we did the content. One of the things that we heard, we did this massive listening tour with coaches and Christian counselors, pastors, asking them what would help you be an all-star at helping couples, chart a course for lifelong love. And one of the things they said is, would you please make it relevant to today's couples? If I could hold it up, and I know that this is available to some folks that are watching online, but the report itself literally is designed with infographic information that makes it really intriguing. And so every page is unique, and I'm holding this up to the camera here so you can kind of see. It gives you a little sense of the discovery that happens as you move along and just how it's delivered. In fact, I have one military chaplain who said, once I started using SYMBIS, my retention issues were incredible because they couldn't help. They wanted to come back the next session, see what's on the next page about us, because it's really a booklet. It's a 15-page booklet about you as a couple. And so let me give you a little concept of what we do. The first section it's just an overview. It's kind of a big picture, a snapshot of what's going on for the couple. And we have this little kind of dial. It's called marriage momentum. And it's like a speedometer with this little red needle. And this is really for you as a coach. It gives you what we call their marriage momentum, an aggregate summary score of everything on the report. So you can tell instantly. I mean, within 2 seconds, you can get a picture of whether you're going to have a lot of work to do with this couple or whether this is going to be kind of a cakewalk and you're just going to help them fine-tune some things. And then it gives you kind of a bird's eye view of the 4 sections of the report, what we call, first of all, marriage mindset, and then well-being and context and dynamics. And marriage mindset, well, this comes out of research that we did at the University of Chicago with a fantastic team of researchers, looking at just the attitude people have toward marriage. And we know they'll fall into one of 5 categories, what we call resolute, rational, romantic, restless, and reluctant. They'll fall into one of those 5 categories. And that has a lot to say about just their perspective on marriage. And so it creates kind of a little onset, a soft onset to talking about their relationship because it's so non-threatening. Well-being is a section that is devoted to this whole concept or fundamental belief that your marriage can only be as healthy as you. Let me say that again. Your marriage can only be as healthy as you. Therefore, one of the most important things you'll ever do for your relationship is work on who you are in the context of it. And every coach listening to us right now knows this and has probably kind of grappled with ways to help this person see that. Well, now they can hand them this page and in living color, because this thing is vibrant with color, show them, hey, here's where you're at. And here's what would happen if you move the needle in these areas. Here's how it would change your relationship. So you can tell as we go through this, we get into context. That's the baggage that we all bring into a relationship, for good or for ill. And we have financial baggage and social baggage. And so there's 6 pages on all of that. And then we finally get into the last section of the report, which is my favorite, and that's the dynamics. And this is the personality. I'm going to hold this, what we call the personality wheel, up to the screen there, if you can see that, those of you that are watching online. And as you can see, we have 8 different types of personalities: the achieving spouse, the pioneering spouse, the energizing spouse, and so forth. And so you might be thinking, oh, okay, so they probably give them one of 8 paragraphs. Well, to give you some idea of the sophistication here, you get a summary paragraph of your personality, but it's your paragraph. It's not on anybody else's report in the world, because we have nearly 40,000 variables that go into each one of those paragraphs, which means you'll never see the same paragraph twice. And as a coach, you won't be reading the same information on everybody's report because it is that dynamic. This is simplicity on the other side of complexity. As we like to say, it's putting the cookies on the bottom shelf.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love looking at it. It's visual eye candy, which I love. And also just so full of information. And that is the macro view. So I wonder if you'd be willing to zoom in just a little bit and give us maybe one specific example of a couple or someone you've worked with and the kind of transformation they've experienced as a result of going through SYMBIS.
Well, this actual report that I'm holding up is a real life couple report. Their names are Tony and Chris, and they gave us permission, and our attorney made sure it was absolutely official that we could share their information with the world. And so Chris and Tony took this report. They're a pretty high functioning couple. Their marriage momentum is high and so forth. But one thing that came about in this, and by the way, look at their personality wheel. They're pretty close together, right? He is an affirming spouse. She's a cooperating spouse. That means they're both people-oriented. He's a little more fast-paced than she is. But I'll tell you what happened for this couple as we went through this. And this is the couple that you see us unpack the report with when you go through the training, because the training is not just Leslie and me just talking heads telling you how to do this. We're actually demonstrating it to you with this real life couple. In a big kind of picture way, the report does two things. It increases self-awareness, which is key to emotional, psychological, spiritual health. Being more self-aware. Once you're aware, as we psychologists, you don't have to be a Gestalt psychologist to say awareness is curative, right? Once we're aware of something, you can do something about it. And then the second is empathy that we talked about earlier in the program, that capacity to put ourselves in each other's shoes. And that's exactly what took place for this couple. But as you say, as we drilled down into it a little bit more, one of the things that they discovered is Chris, when he gets anxious, when he gets uptight, he talks a mile a minute. He can't stop talking. And Tony just never understood this until we went through this report together. And she was just so frustrated. It's just like, I can't get a word in edgewise. He had no idea he was coming off this way. And so we have this page in here on conflict. I'm going to turn to it. And conflict page, right here, once more, we give them their specific fight types. And we also look at their personal challenges. What's going to be most challenging for you as you manage conflict together? And as we read through those together, and I was having them read them out loud, and Tony was just like, I can't believe that. I've never thought of that, but that's exactly right. And one of the things it said is you're a situational listener if you're not given an opportunity to share ideas. And she would realize she was shutting him down because she was saying, would you just stop talking so you can hear me for a second? And so it was those kinds of things, I could go through literally dozens of little nuggets like that opened up the world for them. But that's what the report does.
Les, let me tell you one of the many things that excited me the day you demonstrated this to me, and in hearing you go back through it again. I realize our listeners can't see what you're doing there. If they want to go out on YouTube, they can catch that. But the visuals that he's putting up, these are full color. They look like they're right out of a magazine or something. I mean, this is not kind of like mostly, frankly, what we're all used to with, I don't care if the assessment is Prepare and Enrich or DISC or Myers-Briggs or whatever else. Assessment results don't normally look like this. This is amazing. It's like reading the book of us when you look at these things. But each page, listeners, that he's flipping to is laid out differently. None of them look the same. They have different layouts, different kind of schematic representations of the results. And you recall what I was saying earlier in the broadcast about the importance of vision. Vision is tough for all of us. You bring two people together and you're trying to develop a common vision. They're having to do the work of that and the required communication about that and clarification on that. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And what you've got here is 15 pages worth of pictures that represent aspects of this couple's relationship. Where they are close together, where they are wildly divergent from each other. And boy, is it easier for the brain to capture that kind of a picture. They can go back and remember that picture on page 4? Yeah, and they see where they are. Now we're not just dealing with concepts that they're trying to hold in their conscious mind and wrestle with. They've caught the visual representation of it as they press for a literal vision for their future together. And wow, is it a lot easier to do coaching and facilitate good constructive communication around a tool like that. That's what I mean by game changer.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, Chris. We've just done everything possible that we can think of to make the coach that's facilitating this process for a couple a true hero. And so not only do you go through the training, you get a 100-page booklet, a training manual that's going to go through all kinds of creative ideas. And then I'm going to hold up this report one more time. Do you see how on the report we have these little speech bubbles that are baked into it? We have 24 of those baked into the pages of this report. So the coach that's unpacking this never has to wonder, what do I do with this content? We always have a little nudge that helps them make sure they pull out the best possible discussion with these couples, because that's what we want, right? We want edge of the seat discussion. We want these couples to be engaged with us. And I'm sure every coach out there has known the experience of working with a couple where they're leaned back in the couch and it's just like, oh, would you guys just give me something to work with here, you know? You won't have that problem with this because we really know how to pull that out. And then we have all the other tools that go with it. I mean, we have complimentary Bible study and workbooks and anything else that you want to use with this. Videos, we have these really cool 90-second videos, one per page, that you can actually show on your iPad or whatever in a session that you're doing the coaching with to demonstrate some things with these couples. So it's pretty fun. If you can't tell, I'm kind of passionate about it.